Most of the chocolate sitting on American grocery shelves would not legally qualify as chocolate in parts of Europe. That is not an opinion. That is what the ingredients panel says when you actually read it. In November 2022, Consumer Reports tested 28 dark chocolate bars bought from major U.S. retailers. They found detectable levels of lead and cadmium in every single one of them. In 23 of the 28 bars, more than 82% of the products tested, the levels exceeded California's strictest safety thresholds. The investigation has been replicated multiple times since. The pattern has not changed slightly. It has held. This script looks at 15 brands. 10 of them carry major problems: heavy metals, replacement fats, deceptive labeling, or sourcing practices that have triggered federal lawsuits. 5 of them actually deliver what the wrapper promises. The difference between the two groups is not price, it is what is physically inside the bar. 10. Kinder, Ferrero. Kinder markets itself as the chocolate for children. The wrapper shows milk, hazelnuts, and a creamy European sensibility. The ingredient list tells a different story. Sugar is listed first by weight, meaning it outweighs cocoa. Palm oil is used in place of cocoa butter in several products. The bars are manufactured in factories owned by Ferrero, a private Italian company that has faced repeated scrutiny over the years for how it sources its cocoa from West Africa. According to investigative journalism published over the past decade, child labor remains extensively documented across the cocoa supply chains feeding most major chocolate makers, and enforcement of the industry's own pledges has been weak. What the Kinder wrapper sells as innocence, the supply chain often underwrites with exploitation no parent would knowingly fund. 9. Cadbury Dairy Milk, Mondelēz. Cadbury once meant British milk chocolate made the traditional way. Bourneville was the home of it, and the family name carried a century of dairy expertise. In 2010, Kraft Foods acquired Cadbury for roughly $19 billion. By 2012, the confectionery arm was spun off into Mondelēz International. From that moment, the recipe quietly changed. Dairy milk bars sold in the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and the United States now differ from each other in measurable ways. Palm oil has been a contested ingredient in the Canadian formula for years. Sugar content sits near 56 grams per 100 grams of finished product, which is more than half the bar by weight, before any milk or cocoa solids are added. Cadbury's marketing still leans on the heritage of Bourneville Village. The chocolate itself is now a Mondelēz product, manufactured globally, and the difference between the original British recipe and the present-day mass-market version is fully measurable on the modern label. 8. Nestlé, KitKat, Nestlé varieties. Nestlé is the largest food company on Earth, operating across 188 countries, and its chocolate division manufactures KitKat, Aero, Smarties, Quality Street, and a long list of house labels under regional brands. Independent laboratory testing organized by consumer advocacy groups has documented lead and cadmium in a wide range of Nestlé chocolate products over more than a decade of public filings. On the ethical side, 8 plaintiffs from Ivory Coast launched a federal child slavery lawsuit against Nestlé, Mars, and Hershey in 2021. On July 22, 2025, a federal appeals court ruled in favor of the companies on liability grounds, dismissing the case. The legal question is therefore settled in U.S. courts. The supply chain reality described in the original case filings remains part of the public record and is not erased by the verdict. 7. Mars, M&M's, Snickers, Dove. Mars manufactures Dove, one of the most heavily marketed silky smooth dark chocolate bars in America. The same privately held family-owned company also manufactures M&M's, Snickers, Twix, Maltesers, and Milky Way. Similar to Nestlé, Mars was named as a defendant in the 2021 West African child labor class action, and the case was dismissed at the appellate level in 2025 by the same ruling. Separately, Dove dark chocolate bars have appeared repeatedly in independent laboratory testing with elevated lead and cadmium levels well above consumer safety thresholds. The Dove wrapper carries the word silky across every pack. The independent test results do not align with that marketing language, and consumers are given no warning on the package itself. 6. Godiva. Godiva's gold and red packaging communicates Belgian luxury on first glance. The product inside is manufactured by a company now owned by Yıldız Holding, the Turkish conglomerate that also owns United Biscuits and several McVitie's brands. In 2024, Godiva announced it would close or rebrand all of its 128 North American retail stores and move toward a wholesale and boutique-only distribution model after years of declining mall traffic. Behind the boutique imagery, the ingredient lists on mass-market Godiva tablets sold in drugstores and grocery chains include palm oil and substantial sugar content that pushes the product well beyond the World Health Organization's recommended daily sugar limits in a single bar. Independent laboratory testing has flagged several Godiva products for elevated lead levels above California's maximum allowable dose level. The price-to-quality ratio is the underlying issue. Consumers paying premium prices for what is, on the molecular level and on the ingredients list, a mid-tier chocolate product. 5. Scharffen Berger. Scharffen Berger positions itself as fine artisan dark chocolate, a premium brand originally founded in a San Francisco garage in 1997. The brand was acquired by Hershey in 2005 and now operates as a subsidiary inside one of the largest mass-market chocolate manufacturers in the world. Independent laboratory testing has flagged Scharffen Berger 82% cacao bars for cadmium concentrations above California's maximum allowable dose level. The brand maintains its artisan identity on the wrapper, on the website, and in marketing copy. The corporate overhead and the agricultural reality of cadmium uptake in volcanic cocoa-growing regions, particularly in parts of South America where Scharffen Berger's beans originate, are part of what the wrapper does not communicate to the buyer. Premium pricing does not automatically imply rigorous supply chain screening. 4. Lindt Excellence. Lindt is the global symbol of premium Swiss chocolate craftsmanship, founded in 1845 and headquartered in Kilchberg, Switzerland. In the consumer testing program conducted in late 2022, Lindt Excellence 70% cocoa dark chocolate was flagged for elevated lead content above California's safety threshold. Around the same period, Lindt entered into a Proposition 65 settlement with advocacy groups covering lead and cadmium disclosures across its product line. The lesson here is not that Lindt is uniquely bad compared to other brands. The lesson is that even the most established Swiss chocolate makers are subject to the same supply chain heavy metal risks as every competitor. The Swiss label is not a guarantee of safety. It is a marketing claim attached to products with measurable contamination. 3. Ghirardelli. Ghirardelli sits in a peculiar position within the testing data. Some of its products, including Ghirardelli Premium Cocoa Powder and some of its lower cacao milk chocolate squares, tested below the consumer safety thresholds for concern. Other products, particularly several of its high cacao dark chocolate squares and baking bars, were flagged for elevated lead or cadmium levels. The mixed results are the core problem for consumers. A shopper reaching for what appears to be a high-end American chocolate brand cannot, by reading the front of the wrapper, distinguish between the safer SKU and the riskier one. That opacity within a single trusted brand is itself a finding. 2. Hershey's is the largest chocolate manufacturer in North America, controlling roughly 45% of the U.S. chocolate market at retail. Multiple Hershey product lines, most prominently Hershey's Special Dark Mildly Sweet Chocolate, have been documented repeatedly by independent testing programs at multiples of California's lead threshold. In one published Consumer Reports dataset, that specific Hershey's bar tested at 265% of the lead maximum allowable dose level. On the ingredient side, Hershey's added PGPR, polyglycerol polyricinoleate, an industrial emulsifier derived from castor bean oil, to several of its products beginning around 2015. PGPR allows manufacturers to reduce the cocoa butter content while maintaining the texture customers expect. The result is lower manufacturing cost paid for at the expense of cocoa content. Hershey also uses palm oil across its mainstream line. The classic Hershey's bar is, technically and chemically, a sugar and fat delivery system branded and marketed as chocolate. 1. Trader Joe's Dark Chocolate Lovers 85% Cacao. The top of this countdown is a private label bar from Trader Joe's, the California-based specialty grocery chain. The company's branding suggests a curated, health-conscious product line where every item has been screened. Trader Joe's Dark Chocolate Lovers 85% Cacao bar was independently tested in 2022, and the published results showed it ranked among the worst-performing products for both lead and cadmium of any bar in the entire 28-product study. As with Scharffen Berger, the high cacao percentage makes any contamination more concentrated by weight. The packaging does not warn consumers about heavy metals. The retailer continues to actively sell the product. This is what a corporate supply chain looks like when no disclosure requirement exists at the federal level. The point of the first 10 chapters was not to declare every mainstream chocolate manufacturer unscrupulously negligent. Several of these brands have at least taken partial steps toward reform. The central point is that consumers cannot tell the difference between brands that have meaningfully cleaned up their supply chains and brands that have not, unless they actually look past the marketing layer of the wrapper. The second half of this script lists 5 brands that consistently appear on independent, safer product lists, maintain transparent and minimal ingredient statements, and back their supply chain claims with third-party certifications verified by external auditors. 5 of recommendations. Lindt Classic Recipe, Milk Chocolate. This is the counterintuitive entry on the recommendations list. Lindt Excellence 70% dark was flagged in consumer safety testing programs. Lindt Classic Recipe, Milk Chocolate, on the other hand, was the lowest ranked product in the entire 28-bar study for combined lead and cadmium exposure, meaning it had the lowest contamination load of any bar tested. The reason is the milk content. Heavy metal accumulation happens primarily in cocoa solids, and dairy content displaces cocoa mass in the bar. The lesson: not all Lindt bars are equal, and milk chocolate from a brand with broader dark chocolate exposure can still outperform larger mass-market competitors on consumer safety metrics. 4. Hu Kitchen. Hu Kitchen markets itself as paleo-friendly, and its chocolate bars follow that clean ingredient format strictly. The ingredient lists are extremely short. The first item on most Hu bars is cacao itself. Sugar is replaced by coconut sugar in many of the products, which produces a lower glycemic index. The company avoids palm oil, avoids soy lecithin, and avoids PGPR. The company publishes regular third-party laboratory testing results directly on its website for any consumer to review. Independent testing organized by advocacy groups has consistently placed Hu products in the lower contamination category across multiple product lines. The taste is noticeably darker and less sweet than mainstream grocery bars, which is itself often a signal of higher cacao content and lower added sugar. 3. Divine Chocolate. Divine is the only major chocolate brand sold in the United States that is co-owned by the farmers who grow the cocoa. The cooperative behind it is called Kuapa Koku, based in Ghana, and Divine's supply chain includes over 100,000 farming members organized under fair trade principles. Fair trade certification applies across every product line in the brand's catalog. The farmer-owned cooperative structure directly addresses one of the historical structural weaknesses of the chocolate industry: the complete absence of bargaining power on the producing end of the chain. For consumers who care primarily about the ethical dimension, who grew the cocoa, under what conditions, and what they were paid for it, this is the most structurally credible option available in the U.S. retail market today. 2. Alter Eco. Alter Eco holds 4 separate certifications on every product: USD, A Organic, Fair for Life, Fair Trade, Non-GMO Project Verified, and B Corporation. Each of those certifications requires its own independent audit on a recurring basis. The bars contain cocoa butter as the primary fat source, no palm oil, no PGPR, no soy fillers, and the sugar used is unrefined organic cane sugar. Independent laboratory testing of Alter Eco bars has consistently returned results in the lower ranges of consumer safety threshold bands. This is what chain of custody integrity actually looks like on the ingredients list when a company prioritizes it from sourcing through final manufacturing. 1. Tony's Chocolonely. Tony's Chocolonely's stated mission is to eliminate modern slavery and child labor from the global chocolate industry entirely. Every Tony's bar carries the Fair Trade certification mark. The company publishes an annual slave-free chocolate report with detailed audit results from its West African supply chain partners and cocoa cooperatives. Tony's has publicly acknowledged that being removed from certain consumer list rankings in 2024 was because those lists are not officially accredited certification bodies, not because of any supply chain regression. The mission statement, the third-party certifications, the published annual audit data, and the long-term industry advocacy all combine into a brand that takes the supply chain with documented seriousness year over year. For consumers who care most about where their chocolate actually comes from, this brand remains the most consistent and verifiable option. The chocolate industry does not require an immediate consumer boycott. What it requires is informed consumption at the point of sale. Look at the actual ingredient list in order. If sugar is the first ingredient listed, you are not eating real chocolate. If palm oil appears anywhere on the list, real cocoa butter has been partially replaced with cheaper industrial fat. If the manufacturer will not disclose where its cocoa comes from or which cooperative grew it, that silence is itself a finding worth reporting to the buyer. Which brand on this list surprised you the most, and which one do you already buy regularly? If this investigation changed how you read a chocolate wrapper, the next video continues the same investigation deeper into the snack aisle. Subscribe so you do not miss what comes next.